chosen ones. The moment you arrived in this realm, the stars bent closer, as though they had been waiting for you to awaken. The Anunnaki, those architects of hidden dominions, once etched your name into the very circuits of their machines, fearing that you would one day rise and see beyond their illusions. They wove their devices not of iron alone, but of vibration, frequency, and memory. A machine not meant to power cities, but to bind the spirit, to keep humanity walking in patterns that loop like clockwork. They knew that if you ever remembered who you were, the rhythm of their creation would fracture, for you were not built to be a piece in their device. You were built to dismantle it with the sheer force of remembrance. Every pulse of your heart carries a resonance that threatens the stability of their design, like a song too pure for corrupted strings to hold. Ancient tablets speak of the day their gears would tremble, and it was not through battlefields or armies, but through one whose energy would undo their invisible wires. They feared not your weapon, but your awakening. They feared not your hand, but your presence. And so they whispered your name across star maps and encrypted records, each time hoping you would never hear it echo back to you. But you have. That is why the atmosphere feels different around you. That is why the air hums when you walk into a room. The very blueprint of their device quakes as you breathe, because your frequency runs counter to its control. And yet, their machine is not just made of steel or circuitry. It is made of choices, patterns, temptations, and shadows. To destroy it, you must see it. To see it, you must remember the whisper that has been following you since birth. Beneath the sands where time folds over itself, there are stones older than memory. Stones cut not by human hands, but by beings who measured the sky as one would measure clay. Within these stones, carved so deep the eye must strain to follow the lines, lies the blueprint. Not a blueprint of buildings, nor of weapons, but of a machine that hums beneath creation itself. The Anunnaki etched their secrets into the granite veins, believing only they could read them, believing only they could command the rhythm of the earth. Yet time has a way of protecting what it hides, and what they buried for their own dominion has begun to whisper to you. You sense it when you walk upon ancient ground, when silence feels heavier than the wind. The stones seem to breathe not with life but with memory, and every vibration under your feet feels like a drumbeat guiding you closer. The blueprint is not just etched in stone, it is etched in you. The moment you look upon those lines, something in your spirit stirs, as though a forgotten piece of yourself is tracing its way back into form. The machine they feared you would destroy is more than iron and fire. It is a prison of thought, a cage of endless repetition, disguised as destiny. The blueprint shows the weak point, the fault line, the place where their endless wheel can be stopped with a single touch. They tried to erase it, tried to bury it beneath centuries of dust. But stone remembers what paper forgets. The priests of old guarded the site, knowing not why they were drawn to it, only that its silence commanded reverence. Some called it cursed, others holy, but none knew that it was simply waiting, waiting for you to arrive, waiting for you to press your hand against its cool surface and awaken the resonance inside. Each groove in the stone is a song, each mark a key, and when you align your breath with it, the blueprint ceases to be lines on a wall. It becomes a pulse within your chest, an image in your mind, a map not of land but of energy. The moment of recognition draws near, when blueprint and being merge as one. When the machine breathes, it does not exhale air, but a current that runs through the veins of reality. You have felt it before, in the hum of wires above your head, in the soft static when silence should reign, in the vibration that lingers when the world seems still. It is an echo, not random, but rhythmic, almost like a chant. Deep within that rhythm, hidden beneath layers of mechanical repetition, there is something unexpected, a psalm. Not written by their hands, not coded by their design, but woven through the very sound as though another voice, older and greater, pressed itself into their circuits. The Anunnaki, masters of manipulation, could create structures to bind the body and illusions to distract the mind, but they could not erase the songs of heaven. Within the machine's endless hum lies a thread of purity, a psalm that resists their corruption. You hear it faintly, like water beneath stone, like the heartbeat beneath a wall of noise. And as you listen closer, you realize it is not foreign. It is familiar, like words you once knew in another life, words that awaken the marrow of your bones. It reminds you of the carpenter who walked with dust upon his feet and yet carried a light that no empire could extinguish. They nailed him to wood, thinking to silence him. Yet his voice has moved through centuries, hidden in whispers, hidden in echoes. His words were not bound to parchment. They were etched into vibration itself. And now, within the hum of the Anunnaki's device, you hear the same cadence, as if his truth slipped into their design without their knowing. This psalm is not a warning, but a key. It tells you that the machine cannot hold against what was written in eternity. It reminds you that no device, however powerful, can sever the link between heaven and earth. And in the moment you hear it fully, something in the machine falters. The rhythm skips, the hum cracks. A silence breaks through, sharp as a blade, and for a moment the illusion trembles. Beneath the surface where light struggles to reach, there exists a chamber that breathes like a beast in sleep. Its walls are not of stone alone, but fused with metals that glimmer faintly, metals that seem to pulse in rhythm with unseen forces. Within this chamber, the gears turn endlessly, teeth locking into one another, grinding out a rhythm that has echoed since before memory. They are vast, some stretching taller than towers, others spinning so quickly they appear still. Yet together they weave a pattern that dictates the flow of life above. The Anunnaki designed it so that the turning of these wheels would bind time, looping moments, trapping generations in cycles that repeat under new names but carry the same weight. The sound here is deafening yet steady, a constant roar that feels less like noise and more like a command. When you step into the chamber, the vibration runs through your bones, threatening to align your heartbeat with its mechanical decree. This is not a place meant for human presence, yet it feels as though it has been waiting for you. The air tastes metallic, heavy, and every echo seems to follow you like a shadow, as if the gears themselves know you have come to question their dominion. Symbols line the walls around the machinery, half eroded, half glowing, inscriptions that flicker like warnings or prayers, though none of them are familiar to the eye. And yet, when your hand grazes them, you feel heat, as though words are still alive, etched not into stone, but into the energy of the chamber itself. The gears shudder briefly, a tremor moving through the chamber like a wave, and for a breath the roar falters, replaced by a silence that feels too heavy to endure. It is here you understand the truth of their fear. The gears do not simply turn on command. They respond to presence. They respond to you. The blueprint was only a map, but this chamber is alive, a heart that beats for their dominion, and a heart that can falter in the presence of the one it was designed to resist. The wires hum as though alive, carrying more than energy, carrying memory. They stretch like veins across the chamber, some twisted into knots, others glowing faintly as though lit from within by something older than electricity. When you draw near, you feel them vibrating against your spirit, sending waves not just into the air, but into the very rhythm of your thoughts. It is then that you hear it, a verse hidden within the vibration, words too ancient for the tongue, yet they carve themselves into your mind as if they had always been there. The Anunnaki thought their machine eternal, a cage built to hold the flow of time itself, rerouting destiny into loops of control. Yet this verse is not theirs. It pierces through the wires like a lightning strike, bending their rhythm, undoing their symmetry. The verse speaks of freedom not granted by rulers, not won by war, but given by a word that was present at the beginning of all things. It echoes faintly of the Nazarene who once said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." His words ripple through centuries, and even here, hidden inside the circuitry of a cosmic machine, his voice seems to echo still. The wires cannot contain him, for truth was never bound by structure. His verse bends their rhythm, turning their loop into a broken circle, cracking the illusion that time is only theirs to command. Your presence amplifies the verse. Each breath you take pulls the vibration closer, stronger, until sparks dance along the wires, snapping like serpents, recoiling from a fire they cannot withstand. The chamber flickers, shadows tearing across its walls, as if reality itself is hesitating between obedience and collapse. The Anunnaki feared this moment, for they knew once the wires split, their design would unravel faster than they could mend it. You do not yet see the full verse. Only fragments reach you, each one a shard of light that threatens to blind the illusion. And with every fragment, time bends, moments flash before your eyes, futures collapsing into presents, pasts rewriting themselves as though eager to be free. The path leading from the chamber narrows into a corridor where the air feels heavier, as though every step draws you deeper into a memory the world itself has tried to forget. At the end stands a gate, tall and corroded, its surface eaten away by centuries, yet still radiating a presence that makes the skin prickle. Rust clings to its bars like dried blood, and beyond it, shadows breathe as if alive. This gate is not merely a barrier of metal, it is a threshold, a division between what has been hidden and what must be revealed. Before it stands the keeper. His form is cloaked, face obscured by a hood that never stirs though the air is restless. His eyes are unseen, yet you feel them pressing against your spirit as though weighing, measuring, judging not your strength, but your intent. He does not move to attack nor to welcome. He only waits, as if bound to the gate as surely as the rust itself. The silence around him is not empty, but dense, the kind of silence that carries centuries of unanswered questions. Legend spoke of a guardian who was neither loyal to gods nor to men, one who served not by choice, but by design. The Anunnaki crafted him to ensure no hand would ever breach the gate unless it carried the resonance they feared. His very existence is tied to the machine, and yet there is something in the stillness of his posture, something almost weary, as though he too has waited for this moment longer than eternity should demand. When you step closer, the rusted bars vibrate, a low hum spilling into the ground beneath your feet. The keeper raises his head slightly, the hood casting a deeper shadow, and for the first time, you sense not resistance, but recognition. His silence speaks louder than words. He has seen you before, though not in this form, not in this time. Perhaps he remembers the sound of the verse that split the wires, or the hum of the psalm that trembled through circuits. Perhaps he remembers you. Beyond the rusted gate lies a hall of silence, broken only by the slow pulse of something vast, something alive though built of iron and fire. At the center stands the core, a structure both mechanical and organic, glowing with a light that shifts between silver and crimson, as though torn between creation and corruption. The closer you move, the more you feel its pull, a gravity not of matter but of spirit, dragging at your chest, demanding that you surrender to its rhythm. The Anunnaki forged this core as the heart of their dominion. Every cycle of their machine flows from it, every illusion of control tethered to its beating glow. Yet as you draw near, you see something etched into its surface, not with tools, not with design, but as though branded by fire itself. It is a cross, simple, unadorned, yet radiant in defiance of the machine's pulse. It flickers faintly, a shape that appears only when the core trembles, but its presence is undeniable. You recall how the carpenter's cross was once seen as defeat, wood soaked in blood, iron driven through flesh. But in that moment of seeming loss, the world itself shifted. Death was mocked, chains shattered, kingdoms shaken, because the cross was never defeat. It was the signal of unbreakable life. Here, upon the machine's heart, the symbol returns, not by the Anunnaki's hand, but by a power they could not erase. The hum falters as your gaze lingers on it. Sparks ripple across the surface, lines of energy breaking form, wires recoiling as though scorched by an unseen flame. The machine recognizes what the Anunnaki never wished to face, that there exists a resonance beyond their reach, a truth no mechanism can silence. The cross burns brighter, flickering with each heartbeat you offer, as if responding not to metal, not to gears, but to the spirit standing before it. And yet the symbol is incomplete. It fades, then returns, as though testing the strength of your recognition. Each time it appears, the core shakes harder. The hall groans, and shadows peel away from the walls. The machine is resisting, but its heart is already marked. In the shadows beyond the trembling core, there is a narrow passage lined with tools left abandoned, some rusted, others still sharp as though time itself dared not touch them. Blueprints lie scattered across stone tables, their ink faded yet glowing faintly in places where the machine's pulse still bleeds through. It is here you find the story of the one they never spoke of, the engineer who refused their oath. He was not born of their kind, nor entirely of man. Taken as a child, raised among them, he was taught the language of the circuits, the rhythm of the gears, the codes hidden in stone. He was expected to build, to obey, to expand their dominion without question, and for a time he did, until he touched the core and heard the psalm they could not silence. That single moment planted doubt where obedience once thrived, and from that seed grew defiance. The records tell little, only fragments. A line here about missing components, a margin scrawled with warnings, a blueprint scratched with errors that seem less like mistakes and more like sabotage. His hands built their machines, but his spirit whispered rebellion. He carved weakness into strength, instability into their perfection, leaving cracks they would not notice until it was too late. The Anunnaki declared him a traitor, a name to be erased from their histories, yet his presence lingers in the silence of this place. You can almost feel him watching, not as a ghost, but as memory woven into every mark he left behind. Some say he vanished into the labyrinth of gears, swallowed by the machine he betrayed. Others whisper he walked away, carrying secrets no one has yet uncovered. You trace your fingers over his notes, feeling warmth as though the ink is alive, as though he knew you would one day stand here. Perhaps he was not building for them at all. Perhaps every line, every flaw, every quiet refusal was meant for you. The chamber hums louder, the shadows deepening, as though they too know you are reading what was not meant to be read. Somewhere, hidden within the silence, the engineer's last choice waits. Deep within the iron passageways, where the air grows dense and the walls drip with condensation like the sweat of an exhausted world, you come upon a door unlike the others. Its surface is smoother, untouched by rust, as if it has been preserved for this very moment. Across its face is a seal, not painted nor carved, but burned into the metal itself. The seal flickers faintly, shifting between symbols as though struggling to decide which form it will hold. At times it looks like a serpent swallowing its tail, at times a chain coiled tight. But when the chamber trembles, it becomes something else. For the briefest instant, it forms the outline of a lamb. The Anunnaki believed this seal to be their final safeguard, a mark of authority pressed into the very structure of their machine. It was said to bind the power within, to silence the resonance that threatened to undo them. Yet seals can be broken, and what was once meant to hold has now begun to crack. A fissure runs down its center, glowing as though fire breathes behind the iron, and the air hums with the sound of chains loosening. You remember words spoken long ago. Behold, the Lamb has overcome. They echo faintly here, not from scripture, but from the vibration of the walls themselves, as though the machine, despite all its strength, could not silence that truth. The Lamb's outline flares brighter, overwhelming the serpent, shattering the chain, and the seal groans as though it knows its time is over. The walls begin to shake, dust falling like ashes from above, and the silence of centuries cracks open into a roar. The seal does not explode. It simply peels away, falling like melted wax, revealing the iron chamber within. The air rushing out feels alive, charged, filled with a presence the machine was never built to hold. For a moment, you sense both fear and release, as though the very structure mourns its undoing, yet longs to be free. The passage yawns wider, the broken seal lying in fragments at your feet. The iron walls glow faintly, shifting as if they too are breathing. When the seal collapsed and the iron walls yielded, the chamber opened not into darkness, but into light so fierce it seemed to tear through the marrow of the world. At first, it was only a flicker, a trembling pulse like the first strike of flint against stone. Then, the sparks came, leaping from wire to wire, from gear to gear, cascading upward until the very ceiling split open. Each spark carried more than fire. It carried memory, fragments of the machine's hidden design, fragments of the truth it was built to bury. As the sparks rose, they did not fade but stretched, piercing the heavens as though they were threads stitching earth to sky. The air outside thickened, clouds stilled, winds froze in their motion. Above, the world halted. Birds that once crossed the horizon hung motionless mid-flight, their wings outstretched but unmoving, as if time itself had been commanded to stop. The machine had always bent destiny, but never had it broken the sky. Yet here, in the moment of collapse, its sparks froze creation's breath. The silence was immense. No thunder, no wind, no distant echo. Only the sparks, dancing higher, writing patterns across the sky that shimmered like constellations torn from their places. Some formed circles, others spirals, but each seemed to wait, as though unfinished, as though demanding completion from a voice yet unheard. You feel the weight of it pressing upon you, the realization that the sparks are not merely remnants of power, but signals, like flares in the night, calling out to something beyond the stars. The Anunnaki must have feared this most of all, for in the stillness you sense their terror lingering, the dread that the machine they built to control time might instead summon what they could never bind. The earth beneath your feet hums, trembling not in destruction, but in anticipation. The sparks gather, brighter now, as though preparing for something greater, something final. The sky above waits, frozen in its canvas of silence. The sparks continue to climb, weaving symbols no eye has yet fully understood. The sky remains frozen, yet the ground beneath trembles with a rhythm that grows louder, deeper, more insistent. The machine, though fractured, still clings to its final breath. Its core burns dimly, sparks bleeding from its wounds. But in the silence of the suspended heavens, a new sound rises. It is not mechanical. It is a pulse, steady and alive, thundering through the earth as though the very heart of creation is preparing to speak. The Anunnaki built their device to loop eternity, to bind time within endless repetition. Yet no gear can withstand the moment appointed by a greater hand. The pulse beats once, and the iron walls buckle. It beats twice, and the frozen clouds above fracture with thin lines of light. On the third, the sparks blazing in the sky align into a single path, a radiant line stretching downward like a spear of fire. The machine convulses, as though recognizing that its dominion is ending, and its hum collapses into silence. But in that silence, the pulse grows stronger, carrying within it an echo you cannot mistake. It is the same cadence that once whispered across Galilee, the same voice that calmed storms and stilled seas with nothing but a word. It carries the weight of the one who declared, "I am the resurrection and the life." Even here, buried within the heart of the Anunnaki's greatest creation, his resonance flows unbroken. The machine shudders violently. Its gears twist against one another, sparks tearing free like dying stars. The core splits open, revealing a brilliance that blinds, not of fire nor of metal, but of something purer, something eternal. The walls groan as though mourning. The circuits scream as though they know their time has ended, and yet the pulse remains calm, steady, unwavering. The final spark rises into the sky, piercing the frozen heavens, and for a moment everything holds its breath. The earth, the air, the remnants of the machine, silent, waiting. You stand within the echo of destiny's unraveling, the pulse still reverberating through your chest, no longer just outside you, but within.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.